lived a little bit after Beethoven. He was in there with Wagner and some of the other great German and Austrian composers. His most famous piece of music is something called Symphony Fantastique. And he decided to basically, he was listening to all these composers do opera. And opera's cool because you get spoken word, right? You get to tell the audience what the story's about, right? And in symphonic music, you don't. So he actually wrote kind of a story. He wrote a story and he published it in his in all of the programs that he passed out for his concerts. And so the Symphony Fantastique is a 5-movement rather than 4-movement symphony that he wrote. It tells the story of a young artist who is floundering, he's not doing very well, and then he meets a beautiful woman. And this beautiful woman just intrigues him, and he starts writing great music, and things are going really well, until, of course, what happens? She spurns him. Spurn. Oh my God, you don't know the word spurn? Oh my gosh. No. Am I that old? Really? I'm sorry that I'm using old English. Spurn, to turn away, to deny the love that he has. Oh, right? And so he decides that he doesn't want to live his life anymore, and he goes to sleep, and he has a dream. And in the dream, this woman is basically, he's killed this woman. But it gets worse, because in the dream he's killed a woman, but she kind of like then tells the police, and he gets carted off to jail, and then he gets marched to the scaffold for the ultimate penalty. So this movement is called March to the Scaffold. And if you listen very carefully at the end, you can hear what happens. But you want to find out what happened next? Were that my concert band kids sneaking out the back door? It was, wasn't it? And the secret word is, you just failed my class. Remember that one? Hey, we're going to play something that doesn't get played very much at all anymore. P.D.Q. Bach was Johann Sebastian Bach's 21st child out of 20. He had 3 periods of music that he wrote. This comes from the end of his Faust period. This music was found wrapped up in sausages in Boston, marked seditious material. In fact, it was started out, the von Schlechten family decided to make P.D.Q. Bach an offer, and they were going to give him, this was a lot of money back then, $500 for a 45-minute piece of music. When they heard it, they offered $1,000 if he cut it down to 2. This is P.D.Q. Oh my gosh, P.D.Q. P.D.Q. Bach's Serenade for an awful lot of woodwinds and percussion. You're going to hear things you've never heard before, and hopefully never hear. Seniors, please stand up. I don't know where Pete you came up with some of those ideas. I mean, that was 250 years ago. I don't know. I don't get it. Whatever. Samuel Hazel wrote Arabesque about 20 years ago now. And it became an instant success. It made him as a composer. He's been able to sell so much music after this. But this is kind of the genesis of the whole thing, of the whole Hazo fan club. Arabesque is, it's just cool. Thanks.